The Soviet Union is gone. It officially died on Christmas Day, 1991. But if you think that means its story is over, you haven't been paying attention. Because the ghost of that fallen empire, well, it's arguably one of the most powerful and dangerous forces shaping our world right now in the 21st century. So this isn't just a history lesson. It's really an autopsy of an idea and a warning. To understand the world we're living in, we have to face that ghost. And it really all starts with this one sentence from one of the world's most powerful men. This is the key to understanding why this story is so urgent. You see, for a lot of us in the West, the Soviet collapse felt like a victory, right? A win for freedom. But for many others, it was a moment of deep, profound humiliation. It was a wound that has never really healed. And that feeling of loss, it's being used right now to fuel conflict. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to trace the rise, the fall, and the really unnerving afterlife of the USSR. We'll get into its highest triumphs and its absolute deepest terrors. But here's the important part. At every step, we're going to hold up a mirror to our own time. Because the patterns you're about to see, they are absolutely not confined to the past. Our story kicks off in this blaze of revolutionary fire. It was a moment of genuine utopian hope for a totally new world. A hope that would very quickly spiral down into one of the most brutal totalitarian systems in all of human history. Just look at how fast this all happened. I mean, it's staggering. In a little over a decade, a centuries-old empire gets completely overthrown. A brutal civil war is fought and won. A brand new socialist state, the USSR, is officially created. And then, right after its founder dies, a new, much more ruthless leader takes absolute control. This was history moving at just lightning speed. The architect of all this was Vladimir Lenin, a totally brilliant, almost obsessive revolutionary who was laser-focused on a single idea, that the workers of the world, led by his Bolshevik party, would rise up, smash capitalism, and build a new socialist society. The only problem? He was trying to build a workers' paradise in a nation that was almost entirely made up of peasants. And after Lenin came Joseph Stalin. Look, if Lenin was the architect, Stalin was the executioner. He took Lenin's revolutionary machine and twisted it into this terrifying instrument of personal power. He saw enemies literally everywhere, and that paranoia would end up reshaping the entire nation in blood. And one of his first targets was Ukraine. He was terrified of its strong cultural identity, of its push for autonomy. So Stalin engineered a famine. Now, this was not a natural disaster. This was a political weapon. Grain was stolen. The borders were sealed, and millions, men, women, and children were deliberately starved to death, all to break the back of Ukrainian nationhood. Then, Stalin turned that terror inward, on his own people. The Great Purge was basically a state-sponsored murder campaign. In just 2 years, over 1 million people were either executed outright or died in this vast network of prison camps we know as the gulag. Party officials, army leaders, intellectuals, just regular people, it didn't matter. No one was safe. And what's really fascinating here is who was lost. The victims weren't just Stalin's political rivals. They were some of the most brilliant minds in the country: scientists, engineers, artists. I mean, notice the rocket scientists on this list. And I want you to remember one name in particular: Sergei Korolev. He was arrested, tortured, sent to the gulag. That one decision would nearly cost the Soviets the entire space race before it even got started. Which brings us to our first Soviet mirror. I mean, how does a state even justify this kind of brutality? Well, it creates a god. It builds the cult of the strongman. Just look at the parallel here. It's uncanny. On the left, you've got Stalin's propaganda machine, which painted him as this infallible, all-knowing father of the nation. And this wasn't just about ego. It was a political tool. It was designed to demand absolute loyalty and to legitimize his absolute power. Now look at the right. We see the exact same echo today. Authoritarian regimes still use this playbook. They build this cult of personality around one leader, they rewrite history, and they create a story of national destiny that only they can fulfill. Okay, so after Stalin dies, the Soviet Union enters this really bizarre, contradictory phase. It was an era of these just breathtaking technological achievements, a time when they were literally reaching for the stars, all while holding the entire planet hostage on the very brink of nuclear war. And for a while, man, they were winning. Remember Sergei Korolev, the chief engineer Stalin had thrown into a gulag? Well, they let him out and put him in charge of the rocket program. He took military technology, the R-7, the world's first intercontinental ballistic missile, and he repurposed it. And in October 1957, that rocket launched Sputnik 1 into orbit, and the world was just never the same. And then came this moment, the ultimate triumph. Yuri Gagarin, this super charismatic 27-year-old pilot, became the first human being to leave the planet. For 108 minutes, he circled the Earth, and he wasn't just a Soviet hero, he became a hero for all of humanity. His flight was just a stunning display of Soviet power and a source of incredible national pride. But here's the thing. The exact same technology that carried Gagarin into space could also carry nuclear warheads across the globe in a matter of minutes. And just 1 year after Gagarin's incredible flight, the world would find itself staring right into the abyss. October 1962. The U.S. discovers Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba. For 13 absolutely terrifying days, the two superpowers were locked in this high-stakes game of chicken. Secret letters flew back and forth, militaries went on high alert, and literally the fate of human civilization hung on the decisions of just a handful of men. It was the closest we have ever come to full-blown nuclear war. So how do you manage a society that's living with this crazy contradiction? You know, the immense pride of spaceflight and the absolute terror of annihilation. Well, you turn those grand achievements into a powerful political weapon. This tactic is just brilliant in a terrifying way. The Soviet state used Sputnik and Gagarin as definitive proof that communism was superior. It was a way to pump up nationalism, to legitimize their own power, and, frankly, to distract everyone from the food shortages back home. Now look at the modern world. Countries still use these huge military parades, these tech expos, and these massive projects for the exact same reasons, to project strength, to unify the public, and to prop up the ruling government. But a system like that just couldn't hold. The internal contradictions, the stagnant economy, the insane cost of the arms race, this deep, deep yearning for freedom, it was all just too much. The empire began to crumble, and as it did, its ghost began to form. And when the end finally came, it was like a dam breaking. Mikhail Gorbachev's reforms, perestroika and glasnost, were actually meant to save the system, but instead they just unleashed forces he could never control. The fall of the Berlin Wall in '89 was the first major crack. A desperate coup by communist hardliners in '91, that was the last failed gasp to hold back the tide. And by Christmas of that year, the Soviet Union was just gone, washed away by history. So why? Why did it all fall apart? Well, the historian Orlando Figes offers this really powerful insight. It wasn't just about one bad leader or one bad policy. The core ideals themselves, this utopian dream that a perfect society could be engineered by the state, no matter the human cost, that was fundamentally flawed. The whole experiment was probably doomed from the very beginning. And this brings us to our final, and I think most critical, Soviet mirror. What happens when an empire dies, but the memory of its power doesn't? Well, that memory, that nostalgia, it can be reshaped. It can be turned into a weapon. So here's the crucial point. The collapse of the USSR left behind this powerful sense of lost greatness. And today, that memory is being strategically twisted. A whole new story is being built, a story of a glorious past that was stolen by the West, a story of a humiliation that has to be avenged. This is not just sentiment. As we see in places like Georgia and Ukraine, this weaponized nostalgia is being used as the core reason to justify expansionist wars. The ghost of the empire is demanding new territory. Which leaves us with a final, really unsettling question. The state that we knew as the USSR, it's gone. The red flag doesn't fly over the Kremlin anymore. But when its old imperial ambitions and its methods of control are still shaping global conflicts today, did the empire ever truly fall? Or did it just become a ghost, forever haunting the future it never got to build?
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more content like this.